Hello everybody, how's it going today? It's Frankie and I'm back with another movie review, and I'm recording from my iPad. I just can't be bothered to have the laptop open again because I'm going to be going back on the game stick. But yeah, I just wanted to watch a movie before that, and wow, this movie actually was quite good. I did not expect it to be this good. I mean, it's not the best I've ever seen, but it's quite a good movie. It starts off, well, it's called Farhope Tower. Before I forget the title, that would be unprofessional of me, wouldn't it? Yeah, so the movie's called Farhope Tower, and it starts off quite intense. You have this pregnant woman, and she's on the floor because her boyfriend or husband threw her to the ground or something like that. And he began to shout and say, "This is, you had a baby with another man. How could you? You both deserve this." And he proceeds to, yeah, strangle her to death. And then the guy offs himself. That's going to be very important in this movie. I would recommend watching it before watching my review video first. So yeah, then after that scene, it cuts off to these paranormal investigators, right? You got Jake, Simon, Andre, Zoe, and Judy. I have to remember the names there. Don't often do that, but that's the only characters in this movie. And yeah, so it starts off with them in a cave, and then it cuts off to them watching, the recording of that investigation video. And Jake gets a call from Andre, no, not Andre, from Tyler, saying that he needs to go to like Far Hope Tower, and then because it's just to generate a bit more views and they can get paid from it and stuff like that. And then Andre knows a secret. Andre knows the reason, why it's dangerous and blah 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 and stuff like that. And then he talks to them, and he has like record of them, and he has like the two people that, you know, that passed away in there. And then Andre said, "What's happening? Why are you doing this? We got to make, you got to make sure this is completely safe and stuff like that." And then so it cuts off to them in the tower. I'm gonna skip the boring bits anyway. And it skips them the going to a tower. And then they start talking stuff. And then before that, Jake's sort of like, because Jake, I think he's psychic or something like that, as what I gathered. Because in one scene, he's sleeping. He has like a nightmare where he's in that tower, and he is the cop of an altercation, and then someone proceeds to grab him. So as they go into a tower, not much goes on. They had some read on the EMF meter. Then you got Simon that looked at words saying go up, because that's where that happened there. And then they proceed to go up some stairs, and they get like, excuse me, they hear like a noise. So it's had a fizzy drink there, so I'm burping. So they hear a noise, and they find there's a fan on, and they figure there's no electricity. And then they were told to like, they listen to some sort of audio recording, and Jake sort of hears some sort of humming that nobody else can hear. And Andre knows what's up with him. He's like, "Is everything okay? What's going on? Is any humming?" And yeah, so they proceed to to leave the room, and they split up basically. So it's Andre with Zoe and Judy, and it's Simon with Jake. And I could tell Jake is a little bit like something's not right with him. And he goes and he sort of like, they look around and they see loads of notes. And Simon was reading one suicide note. And then Jake begins to get a bit annoyed and angry, like his mood just suddenly changed. And he starts to roughen him up a little bit. And then, because Simon was pressuring about, what's going on between him and Zoe, blah, blah. And then Jake didn't like it. And then, Simon starts saying, "Andre told me some stuff about your parents that what, that he was adopted, and he hasn't, his actual parents died." You know what all happens at the end of the movie anyway. And then he begins to roughen him up again, but then and then it cuts off. And then Jake wakes up like unconscious because he was like, "What happened to Simon? Where's Simon gone?" And then you see that Zoe and was it Judy and Andre hear some sort of like noise from like the meter, and because they had to follow some sort of like music that was playing, and they start screaming. And then Jake comes and says, "Help, I can't find Simon, what happened?" And then they start wondering why the whole place is like sort of changed on the inside, and they can't get out. It's like they're trapped there, eternity basically. And then you see Zoe just sort of like, there's some scenes where Jake sees Simon go through like a door or something like that, and you see a scene of like I think Zoe getting pulled into like a room or something, and then Jake saying, "What's happening? No, what's going on? Why are you down there like that?" And then Zoe thought there was like she went down the floor, but in reality, it was just, or it's confusing to understand. And then later on, you find that Zoe's pregnant. You're gonna there's so many theories I had in this movie. You're gonna put them together and you're gonna correlate something very similar. So Jake was saying, "Oh, your fault. What's going on with you?" And yeah, basically, I'm sorry if I do miss some stuff out. There's quite a bit that went on in this movie. You see, like as well. You see, like Simon being stuck in a room, and the spirit attendant he needs to like cut him. Cut himself. Cut himself like where his stomach is, so he can look like he committed suicide. And then that's when Jake comes in as well, and that's when they'll come and they find him like that, and they couldn't do anything. But he blames them basically, so he gets angry at Judy. And I think it was either that scene or the other one where Zoe had that altercation with her leg when she got dragged in. Yeah, and then another scene where you find out a bit of the truth come into it. Um, you see Jake having these flashbacks as well of those two people that keep having that had this sort of argument right there, and that guy off himself at the end. He gets a lot of flashbacks of that. And then you kind of later, sort of realize he's psychic. There's a bit of a connection why he's having these like visions, and nobody else. And not even I realized this when it came towards the end of the movie. And then you see one disturbing scene where what room did they take Zoe out from? Where it's sort of like there was a spirit inside that tried to like, yeah, this is a quite disturbing bit. I don't want to talk about it too much. Well, this is the only thing I can mention on this scene, where there was making her, I don't know, like made her kill an unborn child inside her, where she was like moving her body like that, and I assume they did something to her stomach, or some sort of, I would call them demons because they're being incredibly evil, and you see blood coming out of that part, which is kind of a bit disturbing. Yeah, this is more of a disturbing movie than I thought it would be. I'm a bit more chaotic and crazy than I thought it would be. And you see, like, you sort of find out the truth where Judy looks and like she sees like a camera. And that was like, technically that was Simon's camera. So she doesn't know how she found it. Well, no, I mean, I don't know how she found it. And she's wondering like what it was doing as she looked through it. And yeah, I know this is all confusing. It's a lot of information. I'm trying my best here, so don't hate on me for that. I'm trying my best. And yeah, so she looks at me. She then finds out that Jake was the one that kind of killed him. And then Jake sort of figures out, and he gets angry, and he said, "What happened? What do you do to Simon?" He sort of turns a bit evil and kind of a bit like he's possessed in some way. And then Judy starts running. And then she goes up into the some the higher floor at the rooftop, and the door's locked, so she can't get out. She tries to unlock it with a key, but then the door disappears. Now it's weird why they did that in a graphic in that sort of movie, because usually it would be better if she turned her back, or it would be better the camera was facing her, and then you see the doors disappeared. Instead of making it like some sort of like game or something like where it just disappeared like that. I find it quite strange what did like that. And then someone proceeds to, I don't know what she had, some sort of screwdriver it was. I don't know what it was. I'm not picking something. And she got stabbed in the throat with it. The demon made her do that. I would assume I think it's obviously the two spirits doing that. And then and then the guys, Jake said to Zoe, "Look, we need to get to a rooftop. Because not rooftop. We said we need to get to the penthouse, because that's what Andrea was telling us." Excuse me. And that was a scene where Andre got stabbed, where the spirits made him stab himself, like cut himself open at Kim, and then he mentioned that to him. They were telling Jake and Zoe to go up there. They were making Jake just take Zoe up there, and they finished the mission. And that same penthouse is where those two people died at, where that guy was like like strangling this pregnant woman to death because like she cheated on him. It's like it was a reenactment of that scene basically at the start. And then you look at Zoe looking at a picture because she was wondering who was it and what happened. They said this is where they died. Wow! And then she holds up a picture, and then it flashes back to you know the paper that they were looking at. You later find out that's his actual parents. Wow! I never really thought that. I mean, I thought. I mean, to be fair, I did probably have an inkling that boy was like, how can it be if the pregnant woman died? And how did he get adopted to begin with? This is the thing because he told Zoe that his parents died in a car crash, and he was he doesn't want her to be sorry for that, and yeah, he didn't have the sympathy. It's almost like he caused his parents to be like that. But then you find out his actual parents had that sort of scenario going on, and then he begins to attack her, and he punches her quite violently. I don't remember seeing a horror movie where the punches were that violent and extreme. Like punching, I mean, you can hear a bone crack. I don't know how she survived and lived through that still. And she proceeded to crawl on the floor, and she tried to escape, and he strangles her to death. He grabs a chair, and then he begins to, like set up a noose, you want to call it, and then he hangs himself. It ends there, but then you see this, you see like Zoe just sort of breathe air like she was alive, breathe air, like, but she's still breathing. She woke up and she breathed. I was like, what? She's still alive? So that technically means, in my theory, that would mean that his mom survived. That explains why he ended up surviving when he came out of it. So, and then he got his like dad's evil energy from that whole situation, and they reenacted it. I expected the movie to be the way it was. I expected the characters to like they commit suicide. It was obvious ending. And I kind of felt like when it was gradually burning up to that, I kind of thought he was going to do something similar to what his dad did. Because he didn't mention about him being his adopted dad. She mentioned, oh, they're your parents. So it's kind of a bit of a confusion storyline. But he did kind of, she did kind of mention that. And he sort of acted as if he was his dad in that case. Interesting to say the least, actually. We don't that explains the flashbacks. That explains why Andre was warning him not to go back there because him and Andre used to go there when they were kids. Now it kind of makes sense why he sort of always wanted to go there because like a memory for him. But then Andre also mentioned to Jake that you're lucky I pushed you off when I did because I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for that. So he tried to kill Jake earlier on in life. It's quite deep when you think about it, and actually was actually a good movie for an hour and 20-minute movie. And movies like this usually would be found footage, but because it's not, it's because like footage wasn't found. That's probably what it was. It wasn't the theme of the movie anyway. Yeah, that also explains why Simon didn't find anything on the blueprint about a staircase because I think it was like when you enter these sort of areas, you actually enter into a different dimension to those spirits. You enter in a haunted, abandoned forest or cottage or house or whatever. You're actually in a dimension the spirits die. Remember, the spirits are still in these places. They roam around because they can't get out. And you're actually entering it when you go into it. It's quite deep when you think about it. That's why the whole interior changed because it was the spirits messing with them and the spirits in their own like world basically, like trapping them in so they can make them feel the same pain they did. It's pretty much crazy. I do apologize if I missed out any one or two good scenes in the movie. I just didn't want to talk about it for too long. It was hard for me to explain because of what a lot went on in the movie, and I thought it was gonna be easier to explain. So I'm sorry if I got wordings wrong or if I explained different scenes wrong. I'm trying my best here. So yeah, interesting movie. I've got to say it turned out to be a good movie. I don't think it's the best I've ever seen. I wouldn't rate over the top high, but I do think it has some great scenes. I do think that there was a good climax, but they could have put the suspense up a bit more, make it a bit more scary. The only gripping part was kind of like the horrific scenes, to say at least. Parts of music choices in some scenes were not the best, I gotta say. So that's why I'm gonna give this an 8 out of 10. Acting phenomenal, brilliant acting. The audio, this one I never mentioned audio from their voices. You know, the voices you can hear in the mic. The voices are brilliant, right? Brilliant. The acting is good. The emotions is good. Especially in these type of things. I've seen some terrible movies where it's not acted well this way. They did it to perfection. They did it brilliantly. And I gotta say, Jake does like a bit like that magician. I've forgotten his name. The magician I've seen on TikTok quite a lot of times. I'll find him. Don't worry. I know. If you know who that magician, if you know who I'm talking about, please put in the comments. I feel like I've seen some of those characters before, but you know what? It's just a brilliant movie. It's good watch. It didn't feel too long. It didn't feel too short. It just felt a good amount of time to fit those in. But yeah, it's a predictable movie. But you know what? It's certainly made up for it. So yeah, gotta say, good acting, good climax, good build up in a lot of parts here and there. Storyline was good. The ending was predictable, but to be fair, I guess you wouldn't have realized it was that sort of ending just because of like how it started and the whole plot of things. I guess you didn't expect it, partly. I mean, I had loads of theories. I've got to say, you didn't. What I would love to see more of is demons. I would have wanted to see more of the spirits. That's what I was hoping for in this type of movie. So disappointed not to add that in. That's why I'm giving the rating I am. Yes, setting was good. I guess the theme, but yeah, everything was good apart from a few things that can be fixed. So yeah, 8 out of 10 it is. If you enjoyed the video, please give a like, comment, share when you know, subscribe, hit the notification below, as I'll see you in my next video.